Hi folks, and in this video we're going to expand upon our current AI patrol and actually make it go towards facing the player character and of course then chasing them around the game world. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our AI patrol character and we're going to start adding some extra details. The first thing, we're going to add two components. The first one we need to have is an arrow, and that arrow just needs to be redirected towards facing downwards, because that's going to basically work out the direction of travel for our player character. And also we're going to add another component, in this case called pawn sensing, just here. Excellent. Now the pawn sensing is quite interesting, because what it allows us to do is, if we press compile and then click on it, it would actually give you an area where the actual player can hear and see. So what we're going to do is first of all set the sight threshold down and peripheral vision down a bit to a smaller amount, like so, and we're also going to change the hearing threshold to be quite small around our actual player, because at this moment in time we don't want it so the NPC can actually see the entirety of the world around them and hear it. We just want it to be a small amount of actual area that they can hear and see. Of course we can play around with that and change that later on, that's perfectly fine, but for now something quite small around the player, about the 150 by 300 mark by about 11 for the actual angle is perfectly fine. Right, so then we're going to get to a bit of coding. The first thing we're going to do is actually use the event tick for the first time in a very long time. So we're going to right click and go into event tick, like so. We're then going to want the pawn sensing, and from pawn sensing we want set peripheral vision angle, and just set this to 180. What that's going to do is just actually change the angle of this peripheral vision. So instead of it going over here, it will then go down towards this direction to follow that lovely line, because that line is basically our direction of transport for this character. So what we're then going to do is start adding a little bit of code into this character. First of all, what we'll do is we will start the actual see on pawn event. There you go. So when the pawn sees an object, in this case we're going to cast it to our main player, because that's our target, main player, and set the object to that, so it's the actual pawn that it's finding. And then what we're going to do is do a line trace. Now what we're going to do is line trace this one by channel, and the start location is actually going to be the arrow, get world location, like so. So the start will start with the arrow, and of course the end will be player location, so get actor location, like so, and set it into here. So now what should happen is, as soon as our character sees our player, a line should actually be drawn directly to the player. So let's just test to see if this works. There we go. There we see the line drawing to the player when I hit within a sight radius. Right, now what we're going to do is play around a bit more by first of all just making sure that this arrow appears within the game world, and we're going to change its rotation to work out which direction of travel we're actually using for this. So what we're going to do is get rotation, and then set world rotation, like so, and set this one to start off with on the y-axis of 90, and then we'll do another set world rotation on this one here, and this one 270. So what should now happen is, when our character is moving, an arrow should appear and it should show the direction of travel. So there you go, he's traveling upwards and he's traveling downwards, and it's showing the correct direction of travel. Now that's going to be useful because we can use that data later on to work out which direction our character should be facing and moving towards. So now we're just going to go back to our pawn sensing for now and actually make the player, or the NPC in this case, go towards the correct target. We're going to do that by, from the out hit, get the break results like that, which we're going to use the trace end, and we're going to want to move component 2, assign the default route, which would be the main character, and then the target relative location to the end point, and then we need to put in just a random integer here, maybe set it to 3. So hang on, what did we set that to? We set that to 3. Excellent. So it should be moving at roughly the same speed. So now if we go to compile and launch our code, what should happen is whenever a line is drawn, it should move the NPC towards the actual player. So this is actually now quite a nice bit of code that we have. So our player can now actually be chased by the NPC. And then here we go. We now have some chase mechanics for the actual NPC onto the player. So now we can start thinking about actually what's going to happen next and what's going to happen in case of you know, some sort of combat-based system or some sort of system to work out the AI. And you notice as well, if the player gets lost for any reason, it will go back to the default movement of up, down, left and right, back onto the patrol, which is quite cool. And there, folks, we have a basic AI system. There we go. A basic AI system which will try and detect the player's location and find the player, and if it doesn't find the player, we'll return to the patrol.